Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome on into the Dragon's Den. My name is Digital Dragon. I am a 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. What does that mean, you might ask? Well, it means we do everything from 3D printer assemblies and modifications to pull-up printer builds like the ones you see behind me, to various 3D printing things such as some of my helmets and our death racers, our battle bots, and a few other things that we've been doing on stream. So yeah, welcome on in, everybody. Today we're going to be doing another 3D printing focused and adjacent type project called the Rig. What it is a test rig that uses a handful of 3D printed parts and a few den rails of whichever size you would like. With that, welcome on in, everybody. Let's see who we got here. We got JD Montgomery. Welcome in. Mr. Wizix. Yep, we are here. And like you said, coffee into the Dragon's Den. Welcome back in, Bexy Beans. You're going to make me like blush and yeah. But yes, welcome on in. You're here for your North Carolina bath. There you go. And hey, Chanel, welcome in. Welcome in. Oh, wow, Mr. Wizix, thank you very much for the tier 1 sub. That's a 3-month streak. Thank you so much. That is so awesome, my friend. Welcome in. So I'm going to flip over, and actually you may see that there is something missing here. Yeah, it is on its way. It's going to be in Denver later tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, depending on if Mrs. Dragon decides to pull over early. But yes, the Annex Engineering K3 did fit in the car, so it is on its way ahead of me to Colorado. So yeah, a little bit of a surprise there for everybody. I know I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get it there or not. So what are we going to be working on today? Well, as most of you may know, we have built a stealth press on stream, and KB3D now holds or has kits for the stealth press. They will have I think some kits at the show. If not, they are going to be kind of repping a little bit of stealth press at the show. Hey, Pete, welcome on in. So Iconic FAB has quite a few things out here on printables. We've done a stealth press. I may be doing a Dremel add-on or rebuilding a second one to have with the Dremel, possibly for the downstairs garage shop later on. But we're going to be focusing on the Rig. And this is a purpose-built stand that will enable us to test out various types of things and basically let us do bench testing and configuration of our 3D printer electronics prior to installing them in the box or in the printer. And I'm not sure if you've built a printer before, you realize very quickly that you really want to bench test some things before you get everything assembled. Like the black box, we didn't do that, but all of the electronics are facing up and readily accessible. If you've built like a Voron 2.4 or a Trident without doing the like the reverse mod for the Trident, you will realize that you won't be able to get to your electronics that easily and say, oops, I installed everything and I forgot to flash my CAN bus toolhead board ahead of time. Now everything's installed. Well, guess what? You've got to put the printer on its side to take the bottom panel off the electronics, plug in a USB cable there, run it up and around to your tool head. Now you're fiddling on your tool head to get the boot and reset buttons done so that you can get it into DFU mode to boot CAN boot or to flash it with CAN boot. Okay, great. Now we disconnect the USB cable and we have to wire in and cable up the CAN bus cable and get everything booted. It's painful. It's not easy, is kind of where I'm going to it. So what this allows you to do is pretty much set up your entire electronics layout for a printer build on a stand, on the bench, get everything wired up the minimum that you need in order to flash things and make sure that your things are working, right? If you've had components like me that are just boards thrown in a pile, you can get them out and you can test them to make sure that they're working before you go through and get everything built. So yeah, and they'll come in handy for a lot of other benchtop electronics products. So printables is where this is at. I'll drop a link into the chat window for everybody. Hey, MakerMind Nexus, welcome on in. Welcome on in, my friend. Well, I know you're lurking. The working part, not fully sure of that. But as you'll see, there's, was it 5? There, it says 6 files, but I think one of them is the step file. Yeah, so there's 5 files to print. The left and right leg, which are different, by the way. A left and right handle insert, truly cosmetic, don't need to print those. And the safety housing that goes around your electrical inlet. Once again, not necessarily a requirement, but highly, highly encouraged to do at least the safety housing. You choose not to do the handles, that's up to you. So, and one of the things I wanted to do was look here because we do need a few things as far as the bill of materials. We'll need some M3x8 socket head screws, some M3x6 socket head screws. I don't think I have M3x6. I think I have M3x8. So we might do M3x8s all around or switch it up and switch over to some button heads for the M3x6. So no big dealio there. So yeah, we'll need a inlet. So let me switch back over here to the browser window. Probably have to change the, yep. Oh, where are we at? Okay, there we are. We're going to need an IEC 320 C14 inlet. I have a couple of those there, complete with some wire that hopefully we'll be able to use based on how I align things, and a standard power cord. I've got several of those. I buy those, tend to buy those in bulk. If you're ever in computers or 3D printers for a while, you normally have those on hand. Now you will see something else here. This, well, this is the case for the panel dude, right? I figured since I needed the stealth press out, I was just going to go ahead and heat press in the inserts while I had this out. I did already do the couple of M2 inserts that needed to go in so that we can put in a small cooling fan for the panel and put in 3 of the 4 inserts into one of these before I ran out. I decided I was going to use the black box Raspberry Pi mounts because these are pretty much going to stay standard on my rig. So what I need to do real fast is I did get my M3 insert tool back in there. I'm going to heat press the 4 M3 inserts for this real fast, and then we'll start working on our rig, doing the insert. Bear with me un momento. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So how's everybody doing today? Hopefully everybody's doing good. I'm trying to get some last minute things done for work, which has got me stressed out, and just doing some final little things here and there before heading out to Rocky Mountain. I'll be flying out Friday morning, so Evil Diesel's significant other is going to pick me up and with him, and we're going to go up to the airport and head on out. Okay, so I need the 2 on the back side here. Okay, and the design of this part makes it a little bit more difficult to try and use the press feature, so we're just going to hold it and press it from the top. Get it close and use the back side of our tweezers there to press them in and make sure that these 2 ears are flush. And then we need these 2 spots here. So Dan, I saw that you posted a little tweet earlier today, or not a tweet, a YouTube little short earlier today. It did not look like your normal home office garage setup. That's why I was teasing you about, well, work, baby. Trying to get your death racer finished. Well, awesome. Hopefully, your death racer makes it there. Unlike somebody else who just posted today. Not sure if you guys noticed. Zombie posted a little bit earlier. It looks like he burned up his motor, or one of his motor on his death racer. Oh, speaking of which, hey Zombie, how's it going? It was kind of sad day when I noticed that when you posted that. I was like, oh, so sorry, dude. Okay, now I'm not going to mount the panel do here. I just wanted to get these heat sets in since I had them out. So we'll set that aside for later. And those were not printed in PC carbon fiber. Because I started to print PC carbon fiber on Dragon and realized that I forgot that I had a nozzle clog on that. And so I had swapped it from a Obsidian that was clogged to a standard brass Revo nozzle. Yeah, that did not turn out too well, guys. So you'll see that we have a call out for 20 heat set inserts. So we need to apply heat set inserts down here in each one of these holes. There'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 on each side. So that's 8, 9, and 10. And this is to hold the cover on. And then, once again, the 4 holes on the outside. And then there's a set of 10 heat set inserts you can put into the side here that you can then use to mount things to this side. I don't know if I'm going to do all of these because I'm not sure what I would mount here. So you got the Cyborg kit. Now, that is a full kit, not an upgrade kit, right, Zombie? And did it come with the printed parts or just all of the hardware and gubbins? So once again, I may wind up needing to take this out of the pool itself to run these down in there because I guess I should be able to get it in there. It's just going to be tight. And so these are, that one just pushed. Yep. They get pushed all the way down and through the slots, so to speak. So you'll notice that there are slots in here for your DIN rails, and we're basically pushing it down so that it's into this part of the piece. So we're going to screw through this to hold our slots in place. So at least I think, maybe not. I'm confused. Yep. No, I don't think it actually goes all the way up. Maybe I'm going to hold this in place for the next one. I'll have to figure out the other one I just did. There you go. We may have to do something with this other one. I'll have to work on getting that out through heating up a screw and pull it back up. So yeah, note to self, it doesn't go all the way down in there, and it might be easier if I get one of my sleeves in here, and I'm going to take this out and just do it by hand. Now I have some DIN rail. I went ahead and bought some steel DIN rail because all of my DIN rail is aluminum. And I just noticed we got an ad break going on, so hopefully everybody can hear me, but we will hold on for a short bit here. Hey, Royal Nummy, welcome on in. So yeah, what I'm going to do is actually get these in place because they're basically going to act as a step to prevent me from getting my heat sets in too deep. Even that one I think is a little bit too deep. And I might have to get a persuasion device. Or maybe not. No, that went in a ways. We're good. So we need 4 den rails for this build. I went ahead and bought a pack of 5 that are 600 millimeters long, or no, 500, about 500 millimeters long. They're 16 inches. Okay. So I'm going to have to do something to pull these 2 out using screws. Be fun, but we'll figure that out. It's a case where I should have read the instructions a little bit. I'm going to get that. We're going to use our heat set insert to warm it up a little bit. And then we'll pull that heat set to the surface and we'll use a pair of pliers so I don't burn myself. Oh, sweet. You're taking off tomorrow? Good deal, make her mind. All right, it is a kit. You don't think it has the printed parts, but it's a full kit, not an upgrade. So you're not having to work from a 1.1 kit. Taking a bit to heat soak here, so crank the heat up a little bit. What I'm basically trying to do is heat up the screw rather than reach down in there because I won't be able to pull it back out. So I need the screw to be hot, transfer the heat down to the heat set so that I can pull it up. Is why I'm using pliers rather than my bare hand. Trying not to melt my ABS part. And yes, it'll definitely be better to put these in after getting the steel rods in there. You're avidly lurking. Well, Bexy, I hope you are feeling better soon because I know that you have not been feeling all that well lately. And I really, really, really want you to feel better soon. We cannot have a sick Disney princess. Sure, if I've gotten this pulled up some or even at all. That answer is not at all. Okay, so we are going to have to do this the slightly more difficult way. I'm just not getting enough heat transfer into that. Oh, of course. Trying to get it while it's still hot, get a couple of threads in it so I can pull it out and drop the screw. Worked though. The plan worked. One pull. Let's do the same thing on the other side over here. Don't think I took down as far, but I did get down a little bit. So once again, all we're trying to do here is get it just enough that our um, rails can go back in, and then we'll be able to reset these down in there right up against the rails. Might actually take a little bit to get there. So don't be like me, read the directions. Apparently like I said, it looks like it's going to be easier to get the rail in, the DIN rail in, and then put your heat set inserts in. I think that one heat set is just not pulled out evenly. Got a little lip still sticking out, so slight application of heat again, and we should be good. Do that, we do this. Hopefully that fixes it now. I highly suggest having a brass brush with your heat sets. Gives you the ability to clean them up when you get some plastic melted onto them. And you will most likely get a little bit of plastic melted onto them at some point. Oh wow, yeah, definitely stay safe. I know there's a lot of heavy wind out in the high plains areas right now. So Colorado, Kansas. Getting there, but I think what it is I still didn't get my heat set out. Dang it. Alrighty, that's it. If I need to, I'll just pull it all the way out and we'll reset it after the fact. Because it should not be this hard. This is supposed to be a quick, easy build to give us kind of a relaxing day before we head out on a plane trip. Apparently I got a little bit too much heat into it that time. And so these particular heat sets, they are literally there to just enable you to tighten down on the den rails so that your den rails, so your stuff doesn't come apart under weight or movement. I may wind up having to just pull this one completely out and forego this particular one. That was great. Pulled the screw out and left the heat set in there. My problem is I really need to get the heat set out because now it's blocking the entire den rail. Alrighty. Let's see if I can get this to pull out. There we go. Finally got it out. Okay, that's fine. Order of operations, I think. Get our den rails in on all four, and then you can go through and do your heat sets. All I'm doing right here is cleaning up the hole from where I pushed the inset through the bottom. And I do have another one of these. This is not I'm not going to say it's a design flaw. It's more of an installation flaw with me trying to just jam through this, not taking my time. Hey, Pez Liz, you're packing. Are you going somewhere? Okay, so you should be able to see through there. You're seeing the reflection from the metal. And so what you're basically doing is you're putting a heat set in there to align with that screw so you can screw down through the heat set and pull it up tight against your den rail so that it doesn't pull apart. You're basically using it as a set screw. Let's go ahead. I want to put these two in now while I have easy access to them. These two being the heat sets in from the back side. And I will say they actually have a video on the page there. It goes over this. Probably would have been good if I rewatched it before starting the stream. So if you're in here, Iconic FAB, apologies. Okay, so these two are in. We'll go ahead and put these in. Well, thanks, Zombie. We would have been a lot further along had I not shoved the heat sets way too deep in there. Because once again, these heat sets are only there just to align the screws and give them the ability to what are they? Plenty of extra. And give them the ability to run a screw through there and basically make it a set screw so your rig doesn't pull apart when you go lift it and move it around. Now the fun part is trying to get all four of these lined up now and pushed in. So who here has been watching the Fallout series on Amazon? This is where having a rubber mallet might come in handy. Okay. All right. That would be all four. We'll go ahead and put in four more heat sets over on this side. Be careful as you're putting these in that you don't melt your plastic parts too bad. Probably going to catch the side here and there. Okay. Those are in, and I believe that is all all the heat sets that we need to do. No, let me rephrase that. It's all the heat sets we need to do for the frame. Okay. Now what we're going to need is some M3x8 screws. The bottom gets M3x6s. Everywhere else is M3x8s. And once again, you're just going to drive these down into your rails. No need to ugga-dugga them. There's not that much plastic holding in the heat sets. So you're just snugging them up and basically using them as set screws. I need to start packing, doing some laundry, stuff like that, and getting ready to head out. We head out Friday morning, and I think our plane leaves at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and we'll land in Denver at like 10:30, I want to say it is. And we'll get picked up at the airport, and we'll drive from the airport to the one that's the one that I won't be able to put one in because, yeah, there's just no place for that. We'll be missing one of them. No big deal. So once again, M3x8s everywhere but the bottom two. The bottom two would be an M3x6. Calls for M3x6 socket head. I don't think I have any, unless there's one or two floating around in here somewhere. But I think all I've got is button heads, which should work fine for this application. Grab a couple of M3x6 button heads. And there is no kit for this. This is all out of my stock. No big deal. I mean, I built enough printers that I should have everything. I bought the den rail. Like I said, I do have plenty of den rail, but it's all aluminum. And I decided I wanted to make sure and get some steel ones for this, just because it's providing the majority of the structure. And I didn't want it, I didn't want the rails to sag over time, because you're probably going to put a lot of good stuff weight wise on here. So okay, so that's in. The next thing that we need to do is install a outlet over here. So once again, I've got some pre-wired ones off of, what are these? Filshu Electronics, FILSHU, 10 amp, 125 volt rocker switches. They're off of Amazon, right? They're just a standard IEC 320 socket. Nothing big. And just unwind the wires there. Figure out which way your socket's supposed to go in. Feed it in. This is a press fit. It does have the modeled in cutouts for the little push fit locks on these. So it'd just be a straight line up and drop it in there. As long as your print settings are good and the tolerance of their parts good. Say that, and then I'm like, oh, it's just barely tight. So I might have to take a file to an edge of this. A little tight. So when we do 3D printing here, we should not be adverse to a little bit of file work on 3D printed parts, because your parts could be a little loose, a little tight. I'd prefer for them to be a little tight and just have to hit them with a file slightly than for them to be really loose. And I almost feel like this is a housing issue versus my prints. We'll take off a tad bit more. It just fell, but something did. What's going on? All right, it does seem like it's a little bit in the angles of the housing and the printed part. The angles are slightly off. You know how that one side has the chamfered angled edges? What feels and looks like it's off a bit. Aaron, how's it going? Hunter's Danger Dan, welcome in. Yeah, if it's a little loose, you can throw some duct tape on it. You can do a little bit of a super glue or something. There's options. And the filament used on this is Atomic, the Atomic Filament Orange. And The black is actually the Priline CF. I was like, well, it's already loaded up in the annex, so let me just go ahead and print that out, do an orange and black theme. So I don't know if you can tell, and you see the angle difference there between the print and this plastic housing. So it could just be that this is a cheap housing. And if I went and got a better housing or a different one, it might just drop right on in with no problems whatsoever. But this one, you know, I'm on stream, so it wants to give me a hard time. So how's it going, Aaron? You've made electronic changes already? You know, ooh, oh, there we go, there we go. Come on. I changed the layout of my electronics like 2 or 3 times before I finally got mine done. Seriously? This is 100% me. That angled side being a pain in the tuchus. It's probably going to be one of those things that I'm going to force this in there and I'll never ever get it back out, which is fine. There's our mains IEC socket, press flush, and that's definitely flush. Yeah, and I didn't check. I prefer to have the switches so down is off, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get in there to get this back out now with as tight as everything is in this piece. So I'm going to have to live with that. So we've got a cover that goes on there, you know, hey, danger, high voltage. You've got a spot for your wires to come out of at the top. I would have preferred them to be able to come out the bottom versus the top, but okay. I would have much preferred them to be able to come out the other direction. So this will line up, and there's like a little divot rail that's modeled into the part, so it helps you line the part up. It would have been so much better if the wires came out down here, especially since you're probably going to mount your wires here. So that will be feedback back to Iconic FAB. This is once again going to be a couple of your M3x8 socket head cap screws. These are going to be deep pocket M3x8. Retro Maker, how's it going? Ladder's Danger Den, welcome in. Okay. Doesn't feel like it's getting down and through there. Okay. So here I just need to clear out some of the, so this part prints like this. So you get overhangs around the circles. So I just need to clean up that hole a bit. I believe it's probably going to be a M5 size hole. Maybe a 6. The M5 should do what I need it to do to clean out the sides. I'm doing good, Retro Maker. How are you doing? There we go. The very deep pocket for the M3 by 8s, but that's good. At least you don't have to wind up using like multiple different size screws. Just get this lined up. Side started, the other side going. Okay, so that covers on there. Like I said, I would much rather have these wires coming out the bottom one. If that cutout was more on the bottom and centered than back here, it would be easier to fish the wires through. You'd wind up having more wire to work with, and you could place it further along down your rail without having to redo your wiring if you get one that comes with wiring. 2.0, yeah, that over there for now. Okay, so this is our basic configuration. Now, beyond that, we've got our handles. These should just be press fit in. They go in one way or the other. They should just press fit into the gap. Get them lined up. They're going to be tight, so they'll go in. I did print these out of 2 different material types on 2 different printers, so the fact that they're tight doesn't surprise me. And I might have to do a little bit of sanding on the corners to get these in, so I'll do these later. So now it would be, let's set up some placement and some wiring. Something else that you're probably going to want to do, I've got this melamine surface here. You're probably going to want to put some little rubber feet on here, just ones you get from the store, so that it doesn't just slide around on you. Hey, RFS 3D, how's it going? Yeah, it definitely sounds like a cheesy 3D movie, huh? You were going to do the Kraken, but you're changing to OctaPro V1. Oh, the Octopus Pro. I'm thinking OctaPro. Why are you doing, Octoprint? Yeah, forget it. Brain fart. Okay, so we're going to need to do some wire management, especially, to get our mains wiring going and stuff. And there's no files for that. There's plenty of files that are out there on the web. And I just went to printables and I printed out a few different variations of things that I can use. I've got, so like ground, load, and neutral. This was just going out and doing a search for Wago mounts. And this is a blank one, and I added the ground, the load, and neutral as just text and raised it up 2 millimeters. Could have done a color swap to make it stand out more. And I'm using these spring-loaded ding clips. And basically, you just clip the one side on, push down. What happens then? Okay, there we go. That one, for whatever reason, was sticking. Push down, flip it on, and it's just a self-spring-loaded clip. You'll put in some M3 heat set inserts without shoving them all the way through, and then screw them on, making sure they're both going in the same direction with some M3 flathead screws. Okay. So we have this option here for both mains as well as 5 volt, 24 volt, and 48 volt. Once again, they're blank, and I added the lettering to make them so I have options here as far as power distribution. You also have other options. This is another one I found where you've got, once again, I had to add my label here because it was done in 230, but there's 110, so I can do the load and neutral, do a ground bar. So I can have load, neutral, and ground, and then the other side ground, or I can print another one of the grounds to have over there for use with a 24 volt and a 5 volt. Once again, these are made for the Wago 221 415, so the 5 across Wago connectors that we use a lot in our 3D printer builds. So there's various options, and one of the things that I was doing was printing different ones out to try them out. You're hacking away in Tinkercad at modifying some things for various builds. Finally done with a Papilo Zoll pre-release extruder mount, adapted from the already existing Zoll 2 mount. Oh, nice. So once again, you've got options here on how you can do your wiring. I was thinking that I wanted to do something like this so I could do my ground, my load, and my neutral facing out this way. And if I needed to, I could bring some others going this way. Once again, this will mount right here. And then I can put my 24 volt, 48 volt, and other stuff wherever I wanted to up here on the main rail. But this is going to be more of a layout part now. I am going to go, let me grab my Wagos. And once again, you do 3D printers enough, and you're, just go buy in bulk. So here's the one-to-one pass-throughs. These are the 2, the 3, and then the 5. I've never really found a use for a 4 in 3D printing, at least. So I'm going to keep my power supplies over on this backside rail. And so I want to make sure that my ground, load, and neutral are read from this direction and my Wagos are heading that way. Once again, the main voltage goes away from you. Try and keep the things that kill you away from you. And like I said, I buy these in bulk. So And these mounts are printed in Polymaker Galaxy Black ABS. So, and I haven't test fitted these yet, so I hope they work. Like I said, there's all kinds of mounts. Go out and look on printables um, or things or wherever. Find the mounts that you like. Some people like these all-in-one built-in spring mounts. Some people don't. Oh, that's what it is. A little bit of first layer adhesion. About breaking this apart. We'll work on it. We'll work on it, but we need to get this mounted. So we're going to need a couple of heat set inserts in these. Let's see which one of these are not linked together on the first layer so that we can use them. Once again, there's the spring action. Yeah, and I've got some thoughts on what I want to do here. As far as like what all I'm going to use it for. Like you've got spots that you can mount your your SSRs. If you're going to be trying to test some beds out, or you can, test and evaluate your bed. Make sure you got all your configs done on a board prior to installing things. You can even use this to be able to run a little electronics project like an LED project and test LEDs out on the bench before installing it on a printer or the wall or anything else. So there's definitely options on how best to use this. Here's one set up. And once again, with the design of this and the modularity of it, you can kind of set things up however you want it or need it to flow. And what works best for you and your setup. And as you go to run and set up different sets of electronics, you may, switch things around and move things around between projects or different types of projects. Like one of the things I want to do here as well is do an actual bench power supply. So I'll be working on one of those down the way as well. I just haven't figured out which one I like the best. And let me grab some socket head cap screws. These don't need to be anything big. We just need a couple of threads of engagement. So I'm going to grab some M3x6 socket head cap screws. One of the things I like about these ding clips, apparently the ding clips so I will say heed of warning here. When you go to print your whichever file that you're doing, if they tell you to use a specific ding clip, or they suggest, hey, I use this ding clip from this guy, you might want to go and use those instead of the ding clips that, oh, I've got those already downloaded and ones that look like they will work. Because the distances between the screw holes might be a tad bit different. Because you never know when somebody modeled something if they changed the dimensions slightly, which it appears they did for this one. And yeah, this is, like I said, it's very modular. There's 5 files. It's just the 2 side panels and a couple of accent pieces and this cover. I highly suggest using the cover over your electronics because once again, it's mains voltage. I am not an electrician. I am not providing you advice on how to do your mains voltage wiring. That is up to you. I'm going to also be going off script because they do provide, or they do have files. Iconic FAB has files to mount, I believe, what was that, an LRS 150 something? And you can use whatever DIN mounts that you use for your electronics. You don't have to use anyone's specific mounts, which is nice. But yeah, like they have a set of mounts here for the LRS 150-24, which is a somewhat non-standardish power supply unit. Come on, one side clicked in. Oh no, I guess they both did. So there they go, they both clipped in. And now we'll be able to just trim our wires and bring them into our Wagos, and we'll be able to come out of our Wagos to our power supplies. And yes, I did use power supplies as in 2. Now I need to figure out where I stuck them when I came in. There they are. So, you know, I'm like everybody else. Once again, I'm a 3D printer. As a 3D printer, and you know, if you deal with any electronics projects whatsoever, you're probably going to have a few of the standard power supplies. There's nothing that says you can't put an LRS. This is a 350 24 volt. Slap that sucker right there. Yeah, it's going to take up a lot of space, but you slap it here, you put in your wires, you go to your inputs, and you've got your 3 sets of outputs here that you can come out to things. Then you can slap on some of the standard buck converters like the 12 or 24 volt to 12 or 24 volt, 12 volt to 5. Or you can do something like what I did. You just figure out which way is which. And that's the ground side. That should be the, let's open and find out which side is which. But I got some HDR. These are MeanWell HDR. This is an HDR-60-5, so it's a 5 volt 60 amp or 5 volt 60 watt power supply. And then I also got the HDR 150-24. Okay. And the thing I like about these is built-in DIN rails. So the built-in DIN rail slots here, which is going to be very nice. I just need to figure out, okay, the load neutral at the bottom, the positive and minus coming out the top. So our load and neutrals or our mains voltage is at the bottom. And this just slips right on. You push that, you pull this little tab down, hook the top on, and then that's going to latch in at the bottom. So we'll have 24 volt and 5 volt. I'm going to put the 24 volt over on just somewhere over in this vicinity. I'm going to flip that around and make sure I get it locked on there. The 5 volt is going to sit on this side and power like Raspberry Pis and stuff like that. Move some things around here. And of course, the issue I have here is the steel rail, steel DIN rail is, there we go, pretty darn thick. So you got to push hard down on it to get in there. And these can be mounted side by side, just like this. So it makes for a compact form factor. We have our 5 volt or 24 volt. If I wanted to, I could put a 48 volt next to it and get all the different voltages that I'm going to use right next to each other. Yeah, that's what I decided to do for this particular build, is do it that way. And you do have 2 sets of outputs, and then the other hole that's kind of offset a little bit is a voltage adjust. They do have the ability to put a multimeter on here and then do an adjustment on your actual yeah, things on your voltages. So let's go ahead and get our neutral, load, and ground put in. And then we'll run our neutral or our live and neutrals up to our power supplies. Neutral. We're going to go into Wagos here, and I am going to just use bare wire for right now, and I may cut them over to ferrules a little bit later. What's everybody up to tonight? You guys having a good week so far? Want to see. 1 second. I'm going to create a poll real fast. All right, so I just started a poll. Should be popping up in chat here momentarily. And hopefully, yep, there you go. Who all is going to Remurf? Go ahead and answer our poll. Meanwhile, I'm going to grab my strippers so that we can install those. Once again, for Wagos, you need to strip about, it's 11 millimeters. Make sure that you get in there and you're latching down on the wire and not the sheathing. The old tug test to make sure that it's tugged or it's in there good. You know who Zombie is, and I know Pez is, because they're packing. Zombie, I think, was planning on taking a printer with him on the plane. Just seems like a lot of fun. Mrs. Dragon is on the road driving up there right now. He's should be coming into Denver tonight. She'll have a day or two with her mom and brother and then be picking me up and Evil Diesel up. Okay, so those three are in there and tucked in. So I get you, RF. My Fusion 360 skills are pretty much the same way. I can kind of look around in there at a project and, hide things and move things around that I'm going to mess with if I'm doing a build. But as far as going in and creating things, not very good at it. So I'm going to have to start learning because, well, when we get back from Remurf, hopefully shortly thereafter, you guys have been following LDO Motors on Twitter. We're going to have the next batch of Milos coming out, and I will be getting a Milo. It's on order through KB3D, so once that comes in, we'll have a Milo here. So we need to go ahead and run our load and neutrals to our. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, let's just start laying some things out. That's probably a better idea, is get things laid out first. We need some 4x6s. I'm pretty sure I have some extras of those in one of my kits here. M4x6, 4x6. And this kit did not have M4x6. This was the, yeah, the Annex Engineering doesn't do a lot of M4 stuff. But this one should be M4x6. Um, it might be good to ground the DIN rails. Now, I do not see any, I don't see any electrical contact point to this, to either one of these power supplies, to the DIN rail, right? There's no metal part there. So that was the thing that we need to look at is I don't think these require grounding by the looks of them. These are the same Raspberry Pi mounts that are used in the black box, and these get mounted to the actual metal DIN rail mounts that you would use for an SSR. And yes, I will be mounting an SSR or two on here, and those will be getting ground wires to them. There will be ground wires going to those. Okay, so eventually what I'm going to have is I'm going to have two different types of single board computers on this build. And that's going to be a Libre Alta. So this is their new Alta board. So thank you to Libre for getting me a couple of these. I had intentions of putting one on here. Hence why I added it to my notification. Now, the one thing that stinks about the Alta boards, and it's I'll say the one drawback is they don't have wireless on them. So you do need a wireless dongle of some sort to get your wireless. And the thing that I really like about these, though, is one, you can do CSI and DSI off these, where you can't do a DSI display off of a CB1. So yes, that's a 128 gig eMMC module. So this thing is lightning fast. The way I installed these was one following DB3D Dan. MakerMine Nexus's video that's up on the Libre Discord site, and it's on his YouTube because it's linked to his YouTube. And what I did was I actually have 3 boards of these on hand. And so I created a image on SD card, loaded up via SD card, and then you download the OS to the SD card. So you use Raspberry Pi Imager to build an SD card. Load it up, and you're running this now off your SD card. Then you do a wget or a git clone, and you download the source image again onto your SD card. And then all you do is you connect it up to power, find the IP address, log into it, and you can do a DD command, and you write the image file from the SD card to the eMMC. And so I did that once, unplugged everything, pulled out the SD card, just stuck it in the next one, booted up off of the eMMC, got it on the network, and then put that aside. Grab the next board that I had put the SD card in, booted that up. It's already seen, right? So then it's just the DD command to run burn the image to the eMMC chip. Pull the SD, turn it off, pull the SD card, turn it back on, boot it up, get it on the network, do anything final that you need to for the config. And then you just sit here and I just ran them all through. So I've got 3 of these Ultra boards now ready to go with 128 gig eMMCs, ready to just bang out. So I only had 2 of you respond to the poll, and yeah, 2 of you responded, and it was 50-50. One's going, one's not. So yeah, quite a few of you here to only have 2 people respond to a poll. You guys must be over watching somebody else. So once again, these are the printed files from the black box build. So these take M2 inserts. So I used a couple of these inserts from the black box kit. I hope I don't need any more yet, but I did order new ones, so I'll have new ones in tomorrow. So for now, I'm just going to install this with 3 M2s. And here, look, there's some M2x6. I'm going to use some M2x6 button heads to screw these on here. You're deep into Clipper. Uh-oh. I thought your machines were ready to go, Zombie. Are they not all ready to go? And once again, you're just going through a thin PCB into the heat set insert. So really, like M2x4s would be plenty enough, but M2x6s is what I have from doing a V0 build, so that's what we're going to use. And once again, one of the things that I'm going to use this rig for is to set up my Raspberry Pis or alternatives for printers and or other projects. So as seen here, I am going to have a Alta board on this. I'm also going to do the CB1 module. There we go. I will add the CB1 module a little bit later. Once again, I don't have heat set inserts. Those are coming in. We are going to install at least 1 or 2 SSRs over here just to have them prepped and ready so we can be testing, either heat beds or whatever else we may need an SSR for. You never know what projects we're going to get in. And the nice thing is when I go to do the next printer build, which will be apparently a VZ bot, I'll be able to configure the electronics out here if I need to, just to get everything set up and confirmed. Because I'll have a board over here, I want the input side to be down here facing a board. And like I said, I will get as we start wiring everything up, I will put a ground on each of the SSRs. adding a last-minute MMB board and 4 smart filament sensors. Do you have an ERCFA already, um, oh, wait a minute. No, this is for the Micron. So you need the MMB to run the connections for your tool head or what? Hey, Maker Viking, how's it going? Welcome on in. Yeah, 8 inputs. Okay, yeah. We're just sitting here building a test rig. This is the Iconic FAB test rig called The Rig. It's going to be really good to sit here and test out and evaluate components ahead of doing builds. And I'll be able to get things set up and test them out on the bench before I actually add them into the printer. So I do have one extra DIN rail. And once again, I decided to use the steel DIN rails. I got them as a 5-pack, and these are 16 inches long. I have plenty of aluminum DIN rail. I just figured since this is basically providing, the structure, and there's going to be a lot of weight of components on here, that I wanted something that was going to provide some beef and heft rather than just the aluminum. Okay, so we have our mains power coming into the blocks. We've got the SSRs here. We've got one of our things mounted. We're going to have a CB1 mounted over here as well somewhere. And we're also going to need to add our breakouts. We can either do 5 and 24 volt, 5, 24, 48 volt breakouts like that, or we can use these ones, which don't require additional mounts. These just clip in. They've got their built-in spring to them. That would be 24 volt, 5 volt. Right? And so it can come off of our power supply right into a distribution point, and then we can bring 5 volts out. Same thing with our 24 volt. We can bring that into here and run our 24 volt. And if we ever do decide to do like I don't know, if we decide we want to run a 48 and add a 48 in here, or put the 48 up here when we're testing out the easy stuff, then we can do that as well. And I'm going to keep playing around with placement on here just because, well, why not? You have the ability to really, really load these things up. The more I look at these, I really like these HDR power supplies. Load and neutral. We get this stuff put away or thrown away. And I'm going to need some wiring. Give me a second. I'm trying to remember what I do with my wiring. This is not 2018 gauge. I hate when you order wiring and it comes in and there's nothing on here that says what the hell the size is. Not on the wire, it's not on the spool, it's nothing. But this is, 2-wire paired together, black and red. Silicone. I could use FEP wire on here if I wanted to, but I'm saving that for a rainy day. Really what I need here is just to figure out what my distance is. And eyeball that. We're around there. And I'm trying to think about some cable management stuff here as well. So I will be doing, like maybe just running some zip ties through here to hold that wire, close and snug, just so it's not somewhere where I can grab hold of it while I'm moving it around and I'm not going to say electrocute myself, but stand a chance of pulling a wire out or damaging a wire. And for now, I'm just going to use silicone, standard silicone wire, and I am going to break these apart, make it easier. And what we got? We've got blood on the left, neutral on the right. These are screw down terminals. So that means we will want to do ferrules on these. So let me grab the ferrule kit. Guess if I'm going to do ferrules on one, I might as well go in and do ferrules on all of them. And while I'm here, let me go ahead and do the last couple of heat sets I'm going to need before I burn myself on that, and you guys get to see me try on stream, as I will. CAN bus smart filament sensors. Oh yeah, there's a nightmare. There's a nightmare. You want to get those going, zombie? So for those of you that have been under a rock or something, you definitely want to go by and see Zombie's booth while you're there at the show if you're going, because he's going to have some cool stuff from Ember prototypes, and of course, I'm sure I'll have Polymaker stuff, and I'll have a couple of tap changer, tool changer printers. I think there's going to be like 5 of them at the show. I think I heard somebody say. Um, you're going to also have DB3D Dan there, and he's got some things that he's going to debut at the show. So if you know, you know. So definitely check them out. I will, of course, be there bringing the Micron, the Salad Fork, the Rook 2020, which I believe is going to be at the KV3D booth again. And what else? The Annex Engineering K3 is going to be there. And then we've also got the battle bots that we built and put together on stream. So the battle bot will be there. The Death Racer will be there. And of course, we're going to have, Hershey's Kisses and stickers and some things. I didn't do any of the cool poker chip maker coins, so I'm going to have to go around and send Mrs. Dragon around to collect those from everybody. But project-wise, once we get back, we're going to have not that many. What do you mean, not that many? Not that many printers, not that many. There we go. Apparently, I needed to do a swatch truck when I switched filament types in here. I kid. Why would I do a swatch truck? I think I need some heat sets on this one as well. Oh, so here's a critical thing. Who has already started printing things for Toys for Tots? I know a couple of you print year rounds. Because I started, we got all the small printers off the dining room table because they're going to the show. And so a printer that almost wound up going because I had room for it and then decided not to at the last minute is the Bugaboo. So it's been sitting off to the side for several months. I put it on the kitchen or the dining room table, plugged it in, said, "Oh, well, print," and it started printing out penguins again. So, yeah, that build is still surprising me even today. It just works, it just prints. Micro changer plus one or two stealth changers. Nice. I thought somebody said there was going to be more. Either that or they were assuming that that everything you were bringing was probably a tool changer at this point. Since you've been working on so many. Um, you're just now going home, Maker Mind? Oh, um, did they release the new list yet? New list for what? I was talking and not looking, so I missed the context for that. The list of which vendors are where, or I think they said this weekend. All right, yeah, I'm out of context here. But yes, definitely. I just got reminded of a statement there in front of me, which was, if you like the content that you do and you like to see some of the projects that we do on stream, um, I will throw out there and say that the majority of the projects you see here, um, oh, Toys for Tots, got you, um, are bought and paid for by me. I do get some items that are sponsored, like the Alta. Um, I get a couple of printers here and there that are sponsored, like the Black Box sitting right here, which, by the way, is all wired up. Black Box is fully wired now. I got the wiring in that I needed to complete it, and I went ahead and did said wiring Sunday. So the last 4 harnesses have been completed, and I went ahead and installed them because it was 3 harnesses for the FDM tool heads and one more, well, 3 harnesses that go from the board, in this case, the 3HC expansion board, up to the tool head dock, and then the other tool head one. Now, the only other one that still hasn't been installed yet is the one that goes on the panel due, and we'll do that on the next stream, which will be the weekend after Rocky Mountain. So there will not be a live stream this Saturday because we'll be out at Rocky Mountain. Or at least I am not intending on live streaming from the venue. Okay, so those are taken, or those are done. We're going to go ahead and put ferrules on them, and then we'll plug them in. Yeah, and the Toys for Tots, they normally do the Toys for Tots approved list at what, Midwest Rep Rap Fest or a little later. But so far they've added new things to the list, but you could always do the previous list or the previous year's files as well. Or at least that's what they've done in the past. So I was just killing some filament on the Bugaboo, making sure it was actually going to work for me. So but I know that it was Fix'em Dude or Built Over Bot. One of those two had some trucks that did not make it into the approved list last year, but I think they've already gotten approval to be added to the list this year. But what happens is once you volunteer and get listed as an elf, they will send you the link to the files to include a link to the paid files, because most of the files that we print are paid files by the people providing them, that are donating them. But that doesn't mean that you can just print them for anything. They are still paid files. So you're getting them for free to print them for Toys for Tots, not just to print them and give them away or sell them or whatever. So be a good elf. Yeah, the Fix'em Dude motors would be good. I didn't know if he was going to have special ones just for that event or if he was going to have any of them. At this point, I should probably just go and get access to all his files anyhow and start printing them. So Thursday night, I think I'm going to stream. Unless something goes sideways with work, I plan on streaming. And by sideways, I mean I'm working on a presentation that I have to get to my boss tomorrow. It's going to be briefed to the VP Thursday. I'm getting on a plane on Friday. So what I mean by hopefully, if things don't get derailed, I plan on streaming Thursday. And we're going to start putting together the SLUNAS FF1R or FFR1. It's our filament joiner. So that'll allow you to take like all of your different rolls of, say, I don't know, alien 3D samples and join them together in whatever type of rainbow color transition you want. Or you could take your recycled PET filament that you're doing through your pultrusion system and join them all into larger rolls. You know, things of that nature. Okay, so we've got these. These are screw down terminals. Which one of my screwdrivers is going to fit? This one, maybe. Yes. Okay, and load on the left side. You just seem to like have to scroll these for days. Hoping that would work. But yeah, if you like the content, and you like to bring new projects into the Dragon Den, please feel free to subscribe or buy some merch off the merch store or any other sundry ways you wish to support. If there's a product that you want to see, that you want to see me build, or I really don't do reviews of things because I like to use the printers for a while and put some time on them. So I can review I can review the build process. And that's sweet. So the 24-volt uses Phillips screws. The 5-volt uses flathead screws. That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, if there's anything that you want to see me build or see me have on stream, just let me know, and we'll work on getting it on stream. Hey, Bexy. Yeah, they were late a few weeks last year. So I'm going to take my 2 loads and bring those over and plug them into the load. One. to, we'll bring our neutrals over, plug those in. Okay, and once again, we've got over. I made these a little bit longer than I truly needed because what I want to do is put a zip tie down there. And we'll just zip tie those up so they're out of the way, so that we don't snag them as we're moving things around, and bring these off to the side. Sure, somebody will come up with a better way of doing this, or I could just put a one of the either the printed or just the plastic ones that you can surface mount on here. But for now, the humble little zip tie will work just fine at the table management here to keep these out of the way. These down, keep them out of the way. Just like so. That way we shouldn't catch those on anything. Okay, so there's our power inputs now. And we'll do our 5 volt, our 24 volt. We'll need a couple more of our 5-pole Wagos, just because why not? DIN clips, but it lets you put a 5 this way, a 5 this way. It mounts on your DIN rail, and you have a spot to put a label, a printed label. So the nice thing about this is where these wires come up and then have to fold over, these would be straight up and down. So you could go, 24 volt and have your positive and your ground underneath. So these are also ones that I'm going to be checking out, and I may swap these around if I like these a little bit better. I just wanted to give them, try out different types of Wago mounts because there's so many of them out there. Ooh. Yeah, we're gonna have to switch over to the other software. That the dregs of that are full of ground. Hey, Bexy, I hope you're starting to feel better, especially if you were able to keep some solids down. Okay, now I'm going to flip this back around and go back in there because once again, I did all the other Wagos, but I guess I'm going to go back and do the main wire inlets with Wagos as well. Because, well, why not? I've already started. Apparently, these might be good. these out one at a time and put them right back in. Oh, well, that's good that you were able to get a good nap in. So the black uh, connectors for the 16 gauge, the black crowds are just a little tight in the Wago, so it goes in there. Obviously stays in there because I just pulled the actual Wago out of the mount. Black ones definitely fit well in there. Or, I'm sorry, the red ones, the 18 gauge Wagos fit in there nicely. With regards to the your 5-volt inputs, it's up to you if you go in through GPIO pins or you cut the um like a power. I'll say get some power only USB cables that you can just cut because then you don't feel as bad about cutting them. And that way you're actually bringing the USB power in for your Raspberry Pi or other single board computer, because most of your single board computers will have some type of power, um, uh, like reverse polarity and overdraw, underdraw on that 5-volt USB connector. If you're running it into the GPIO pin, sometimes you don't have the circuit protection and you can blow things. And to answer your question, roasted rotini. Yes, roasted rotini. Sorry, I really need to clean these. This is a called the Rig by Iconic FAB. We've had it up down here, but this is a test stand that you can 3D print, and it's 5 pieces. So you've got your 2 end pieces, which are the bulk of the piece. You'll have 2 handle inserts that will go in to the sides here. I just need to do a little bit of sanding on mine because they're just a tad bit too tight. And a power inlet protection box. Now I need to talk to them about either moving the cutout from the top side to the bottom side, or just go in and make a cutout on the bottom side, because I would prefer to route these wires down out of the bottom and over versus up through the top. And then as far as any Wago mounts for distributing your power or DIN rail mounts, you print those, or you can buy the metal ones specifically for mounting your SSRs and stuff. But it enables you to come in and test out all of your, I don't know why I'm putting this away because I'm going to need it back out. It allows you to test out all of your electronics on the bench without needing to mess around with a printer. So I'm going to have my single board computer or one or more here. I am going to mount a second one which will be a CB1, because this was the CB1 that was in the salad fork. And I just took this out and put a CM4 light module in the salad fork, so I could run a 2.8-inch wave share DSI touchscreen for clipper screen on it. So clipper screen is not a requirement, but having clipper screen capability on your clipper-based printers that you are taking to shows is a godsend, because a standard 128/64, you can't start prints, or at least I have not been able to reliably start prints from a 128/64 display, the standard knob display, at shows. So then you would have to have, a network or a wireless network. And, mind you, they're going to have a decent wireless network at the ranch, but you're also going to have people running their own wireless network. And the wireless environment is going to be saturated because you're going to have people trying to live stream from the show. So the wireless at the ranch is probably going to be saturated. So I think most of the printers I'm taking also have the ability that I can plug them in directly, and just go Cat5e to my wireless router, which will make it easier. Free Heathen was supposed to be going. Bexy, do you have an update on Free Heathen and his travels to Rocky Mountain? Interesting. I just heard a lot of thunder. Are we due to get rain? Oh, yeah. So apparently, folks, hopefully everything's good and we don't lose the stream, because we've got a thunderstorm rolling through right now. And, with me being out here in Podunk, he's still waiting for the passport as far as he knows, or as far as you know, and not sure about finances. Okay. I am sure that there are a couple of people that can probably help with finances to get him out there. I'd love to get him out here. If not for Remurf, we could probably get him to Murph in Goshen. I just prefer to get him to Remurf because it would be bigger. But then again, that might be a reason why Murph would be a little bit better than Rumurf. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this mounted. I need to get, I've got heat inserts coming in tomorrow, so I'll be able to mount the CB1 module up here tomorrow. And, I've got I don't know, I've got the high force sled there with a CB1 on it. And I believe that CB1 might actually have eMMC memory on it as well. There wasn't it's got to, because it didn't have it did not have an SD card in it. Aren't you? There we go. But I also have an actual BigTreeTech version of a Pi, which is, instead of a CB1 on a sled, it's a CB1 actually on the board. And the nice thing about those boards is you can run, so like rather than on the GPIO, on the sleds, you've got a dedicated 5-volt and ground. On the actual Pi sleds, and also on like a MKS Pi, they've got, you can run 12 or 24 volt directly into those boards, right? So that's a pretty cool setup as well. That'll be sitting somewhere around here, so I'll be able to run 2 here, so I can run different projects off of that. We're also going to set up this because this is going to be for an actual controller. Of course, this has a button head on one side and a flat head on the other, countersunk on the other. So throw a countersunk in there, and then I'll grab a button head for the other side here in a second. But yeah, I'd like to get Heathen out there. But like I said, the one thing with Rocky Mountain is there's going to be a ton of people. Last year, they had like 3,000 people through the doors over the weekend. And this year, they're expecting, I'll say, another bumper crop like that. And by the end of the show last year, the event center was already reaching out to the show management team, Breakcore Justin and crew, saying, we think you need the other side as well with the amount of foot traffic you had through here. So they are actually opening up, well, they're getting and opening up and using the other 18,000 square foot side of the venue. They're going to have a full 36,000 square feet of floor space between the two sides of the venue. That's where I said, you know, like Preheathen might be a little rough just because of the number of people that are there. But the good thing is they are going to have some quiet rooms for people that need it. They are going to have a spot where the makers, like the people that have tables, can get away and like go eat lunch in peace, stuff like that. Hey, Chris, welcome on in. Welcome on in, my good sir. Are we going to have a phone call later tonight? Phone call, Discord, DM, something or other? Hey, Aaron F. Geared, welcome in. So I'm going to keep these out because I'm probably going to use them. So I've got a spot to put a board here. And I figured, well, I've had this board sitting here for a while, so I might as well get it out. It's going to go in something soon-ish. I haven't quite decided yet, but it's going to get mounted on here right now, and it will be put to use on something. And the nice thing about this that I like is your Leviathan boards are perfect for any type of boron build, right? So, meaning whether that is a 2.4, a Trident, or any of the, we'll say, sub-variants, like a printers for Ant, right? Because you've got two 5160 drivers on it that are great for running 48 volt high voltage to your AB motors, and everything else you can run standard for your 24 volt for the rest of the motors that you're going to be putting it on. So, and it's got a spot to hold the Raspberry Pi directly, or Raspberry Pi or other single board computer directly on top of the board, so it keeps your overall footprint underneath pretty tight and clean. I think my part done shrunk a bit. Well, thank you for the subscription, Shaudel. Oh, actually, thank you for the gifted sub, Chris, for Shaudel. I appreciate that very much. Yes, we're going to see KB3D out there this weekend. Him and Chris 2 will be there. Like I said, I will have a printer out there. They are flying in, so they're not able to bring things like black box and stuff like that because they weren't driving out. But I'm not sure if there will be a black box from somebody else there, but I know this black box will be up and running shortly after Remurf, and will make its debut at Murph. I'm gonna put this. That. There we go. Just like that, we're kind of laid out. We do have power to our power supplies. I've got my 5-volt here, so I'll be able to run neutral and power, and 24 volts. So this will be my 5-volt, supporting my 5-volt stuff. This will be 24 volt. That'll be powering whatever board I'm running. If I do add a 48 volt power supply over here, I do have a 48 volt thought. No, actually, I thought I did. Apparently, I don't. So I will just print out the 48 volt version, or make a 48 volt version to add in here to be able to run high power into any of the drivers that need to be. And speaking of which, I'm thinking I might need to take this and flip it around, but we'll play with that later. But yeah, the nice thing is you can mount either a Raspberry Pi Zero or a Raspberry Pi or anything that's in a Pi form factor, and pull power directly through this board to your single board computer. And yeah, that is upside. We're gonna have to fix that. Can't have the Leviathan logo upside down now, can we? And so one of the nice things here is I am running the HDR versions of the power supplies, which are den mountable. So I don't have to worry about printing off brackets and having like this is the big LRS 350, 24 volt 350. I've got a 5-volt 60 watt power supply. So what is that, 12 amp? And then I've got a 24 volt 150 watt power supply, and I can add whatever else I want to here, and a lot less space. So that works out well. Once again, input down here at the bottom, outputs are going to come out of here and go into our breakouts for our 5-volt and 24 volt. I do have a couple of SSRs mounted up here. And the other thing that I'm thinking about doing is figuring out a method of mounting like a short, because I may actually put these down here and then mount some short rails. Actually, I think I will put the short rails here and be able to mount like a cap and or a boop. So I can do a full up hot end build and plug everything in and test everything out. But I just need to figure out a way of doing a den mount that I can mount a short length of rail and either cut some rail or have Chris cut me some short rails that I can mount there. And then that way I'll have the ability to mount a tap and a boop or something like that. So you can fully test a hot end buildup and any mods or changes before trying to put it on an actual printer to make sure that everything fits. But yeah, this is going to be my straight up test rig, and I still have plenty of room down here that I can mount other stuff down here on the lower rail as well. So that's the thing, is it's very, very modular and friendly to moving around. And as I say, I'm going to take this off and eventually run it in one of my printers so I can get it fully configured here, pop it off, go just swap it out board for board in the printer, and slap the next board up here and try it out. For a pair of 5160s, probably, I think the 48 volt HDR that I saw is like a 150. But I mean, 150 watt on 48 volt, that's what, 3-ish amps to run into your 5160s. And once again, you're not running it, like I'm not running the motors from here per se. I'm plugging everything up so I can test out. So yes, I might have to plug in some bench motors with little pigtails just to make sure that I can get the 48 volts and fully test the system out before mounting it in the printer, right? I still need to do little jumpers there. I'll probably have to do that with some FEP wire. Here's my 20 gauge. Oh, we can use this. Not much left of it. And I did get in both of my orders of 20 gauge FEP wire for the black, because that was the one thing that Chris didn't have was the black. So I had to order from somewhere else until he gets his shipment from Leroy in. Speaking of which, did you actually get a shipping notice, Chris? Once again, these are short runs, so you should be fine running 20 gauge. If you really want to, you can run 18 gauge for your 24 volt, but for the 5 volt, you're not. I mean, 5 volt, 12 amps, and less than 6 inches, you're going to be fine running your 18 gauge wire here, or 20 gauge wire, I mean. You need to go up to 18. All I'm going to do is get one of the ends on and get it connected and figure out what I need to, what length I need. This is going to be our neutral, so we'll bring that down to the bottom. Neutral, our negative, so we'll bring that down to the bottom. And prior to connecting any actual endpoint up, I am going to validate, because we do have potentiometers on here, so I will plug it in and then use the Wagos to plug in my multimeter and just check and verify the voltage is set correctly. We got raffles going. Chris comes in and immediately goes straight for the raffles. But yeah, Chris, I can definitely jump on call right after this. In fact, folks, I am going to call it at 9. Just going to work on getting these things connected up. And then we'll go from there. Going to work on getting these up. This is what I wanted to work on today. And once again, we'll work on putting together the Lunaz, Italian, I believe, FF1R or FFR1. It is a filament joining system. So it was on Kickstarter. I did go ahead and back him on Kickstarter, so I've got one of the original units off their Kickstarter, and everything arrived just on time, like no major delays. Like I also backed the Tiny Machines little resin printer, and that still has not shipped. They continue to have delays on that. So, yeah, I'm happy that Lunaz has delivered on time. Now I'm going to put that together. Oh, hey, Westery One. I didn't realize you were streaming tonight, sis. And I am trying to keep these fairly short, which means I'll have to redo them if I move it too far around, but oh well. Hope you're doing good, sis. And Mia's doing good. I want you to know that let's see, my helper from Amazon let me know that it might be a good time to reorder my pet supplies. As in, I'm now getting reminders to buy begging strips. Hey, welcome in, Christoph, Darth Gollum, Stephen Poole, box opening, bag stabbing, and Mia giving treats. Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad you're doing good and had a good stream. Ah. So I will flip this around here in a second and show you guys what we've been working on tonight. This is called The Rig by Iconic FAB. It is a benchtop test rig. You can use, we'll say, I mean, it's primarily looking and setting up as, all DIN rail mounts, which works really well for our 3D printing that we do. But it's very simple. We've got a printed right side, a printed left side that takes our IEC inlet socket, standard socket. It's 4 DIN rails, and I figured this out. It's better to get all of your DIN rails pushed into a side, and then I lined up the other side and get those pushed in, really, gave it the ugga-dugga together. And then you insert M3 heat sets, and then screw a M3x8 screw in on each of the sides of the top 3 rails. The bottom ones need M3x6 just because they're shallower depths. Okay, there we are. These are shallower depths, so you need M3x6. And then you need however you want to mount things to your DIN rails. So I've got, of course, a specially designed one to work with the Leviathan, and I am using the small print in place DIN clips, because they're a lot more low profile than the normal ones. But if I was, I'm reusing the black box ones and the actual metal DIN rails for the single board computers here. But if I'm going to be like, okay, I'm printing the parts for the next build, which is going to be the BZ-Bot, right? I'll print out whatever mounts are needed for the electronics that come with the kit, and those will be the mounts. I'll just pop this off, put those on, and I'll be able to bench test and configure everything that I'm going to put in that printer before I mount it in the printer. So one of the things that we run into sometimes is, a lot of us have been doing CAN bus. So if you've got, like, I don't know, a Trident 350 that weighs a lot, that's sitting up here on the workbench, and it's a fairly small workbench, you have to lay those printers down on the sides, unless you've done the flip top mod for it, in order to get to the electronics. And if you forget to flash the firmware on your toolhead board, or you accidentally update Clipper and it tells you it can't talk to your MCUs anymore, then you have to flash them. You may have to flip the printer over on its side and plug in a USB cable between your single board computer and your toolhead to flash CAN boot, then take it off, wire it up for CAN, and then flash Clipper to it, depending on how you've set it up. And it just makes it a little bit easier to have a test stand that you can do all of these things on, and do it on the bench. And I normally do most of mine sitting here on the bench ahead of putting them into the printer. So this is just an easier way of keeping track of everything and doing it that way. So 20 gauge was perfectly fine for this. I think I am going to go with 18 gauge to do the 24 volt. So we'll switch over here to some 18 gauge wire. And once again, I'll do the one end and then figure out my distance, plug in for the rest. Yeah, and I did, yeah, I've got a, why is words getting so hard? I think it's just not enough coffee yet. I did put a Keystone, like Ethernet adapter on most of my printers now. And there was one, I think it might have been Chewy's. I think Chewy sent me a Keystone USB, but yeah, that's a darn good idea, is to do a Keystone USB as well. just for that reason. You only stabbed 3? How many did you open up, Westry? 20 weren't stabbed? Did you like get a bulk order it or something? Oh, you can get cups at Burger King? Eat. Okay, so once again, black is negative. Need to grab our negative. Oh, speaking of being proud, Liz, I actually put filament in the car. So I've got 2 spools of, it was Atomic ABS and a couple of spools of, I'm going to say Polymaker, but I don't think it was Polymaker PLA. I think it was Polar Filament PLA that I threw in the car. 20, 20, that was 18 for the rig. Yeah, see, I remembered. Normally I go to the shows and I forget filament, or it's just a good enough excuse for me to buy filament. And then I'm running around like asking Liz, like, hey, do you guys, how much filament did Polymaker bring? Can I get some? Are you selling them this time or not? Or I'm running around to Atomic and getting filament from Atomic. I normally stop and get filament from Atomic, and Polar's coming out with some nice colors now. Of course, Capricorn, if they're there, Cookie CAD is starting to get some stuff other than PLA, which is good. Let's see. No, it is Atomic. Yeah, because Atomic's the one where I first got some. I got some ABS and PETG carbon fiber stuff from. And I will tell you that Polymaker PC ABS. So I did. So I was trying to print some parts, the panel due parts, over on the once again, words again. I was trying to print the panel due parts, which were too big to go on the annex, on Fade Dragon behind me. And yeah, Chris, I'm going to need a new 0.4 obsidian nozzle, because I turned a 0.4 into a 0.5 or 0.6 brass nozzle recently. So I was trying to figure out, like, why is this printing like hot turd shit, you know? Sorry for my language. But yeah, it was, I forgot that I had a clog in the obsidian nozzle and I had to pop it out, and I didn't have another unclogged obsidian to put in there. Yeah, so I ran some PCCF through a regular brass nozzle, which it did not appreciate very much, by the way, folks. So yeah, I I bored out a brass nozzle, a Revo brass nozzle, like noticeable to the naked eye. Expanded it. And then, right, um, yeah, I say that, Chris, because I know that you're out of stock because I've looked already. But yeah, I do need to pick up one of those. Eating horses? Okay, well, sis. Austin ordered his own filament and sent to Traxmax. Yeah, I'm not sure who all's selling this weekend either. Um, I'm not because you have to go. It's like Bel Air now. You have to go and get a temporary tax license because Colorado wants their pound of flesh. Um, but yeah. Oh, I've got plenty of nozzles, Aaron. I just don't have another point four obsidian. Um, I have one that I basically let sit in um, uh, acetone for a while, and it still didn't clear out. So yeah, I've got an obsidian that's fully clogged. Still, I'm going to try and see if I can get it the rest of the way cleared out. But I let it sit in acetone for a good several hours, um, and it didn't help. So I don't know what got clogged in it, but I got some of it out. Let me rephrase it. I got some of it out. So I think getting it back into a printer and ramping the heat up, I should be able to get it cleared the rest of the way and get it back usable at least. Um, but yeah, I will want to get some replacements. And of course, the black box is well, right now it's 3 Revos. It's uh it's going to get another Revo with a high flow heater block and a standard 0.6 nozzle. Um those have been ordered. They're probably going to come in while all of us are out. I haven't got a shipment notification, so whenever Chris and them decide to send it, it'll come. Um let's see, what else do we need to do here? I don't know. I don't know. I think that's pretty much where we're going to leave it though. We've got our basic setup done. Now it's really just work with it, use it, figure out what we want to change on it and what we want to keep because it's not going to stay in this format. It will change, it will evolve as we do projects with this. But this is going to be a nice little tool to enable you to work out all of um, your electronics for a build, whether it's this. I mean, you've got a 24 volt and a 5-volt power supply. You can hook up some LEDs into this and test out LEDs. Um, you can throw a buck converter on here and bring it down to 3.3 volt and use it for some Arduino project, right? So there's all kinds of things that you can do with this type of test stand to make it more user friendly. So yeah, just something. You don't have to go and get like a purpose built DIN rails. These were, I mean, the HDRs are a little bit more expensive, watt for watt, than other more standard types. You know, your UHP, your ultra thin, you know, your thin but long ones are more expensive than the standard LRS, right? And then if you go ahead and get like the HDR, which are purpose-built DEN ones, then they're a little bit more expensive. But once again, they're purpose-built, and this is a test rig. I got these specifically to keep them on the test rig and to use this test rig not just for 3D printer electronics, but other electronic projects that we're going to be bringing into the stream as well, right? I have plenty of DIN rail area down here in the center, plenty of DIN rail right here. There's actually nothing that stops me from taking these and mounting them low, which then opens all of this up because these will sit down here just nicely with this configuration, right? That's another option, is literally taking these and mounting them underneath and freeing up this whole side rail for other electronics projects. And I can slap some straight up Arduinos, Arduinos with shields or what have you, to have one side kind of facing 3D printer stuff and the other side running maybe a 5 volt and a 3.3 volt and doing Arduino on the other side, right? So this one little thing adds a lot of flexibility to any type of project that you're going to be doing, right? Just once again, make sure that you do appropriate safety measures for your mains voltage and stuff like that. Use the proper gauge wire based on the amount of voltage that you're going to be running in your power supplies and the length of distance, because once again, you know, 5 volt, less than 6 inches, 20, hell, you could probably even get away with 24 with that distance, right? But if you're going to take that and run it 50 feet, then you're going to need a lot longer or a lot larger cable to be able to run a longer distance. You just do the calculators, figure out which cable size you need, and run with it. And the BigTreeTech MCUs, like I said, I've got, whoops, let's see, what all do I have here? I've got that. I've got, I've got a SKR 1.4 turbo board. I've got a, this is the rearm board. So this is basically a Atmega, 2560, but running with a 32-bit ARM processor instead of a 8-bit processor. So this is the standard 32-bit version of a Arduino. Okay. Then you've got your BigTreeTech Pi, which once again, I've got the IO CAN shield on this one, but you can run straight 12 volt or 24 volt into it. You can bring 5 volt in through the USB-C. You can bring 5 volt in and power it straight from the GPIO pins. But the nice thing with the CAN bus board is you can run CAN directly off of this if your MCU doesn't support it, right? And so, yeah, be careful. Some of your BigTreeTech MCUs do automatically turn on a heater. That's why you don't necessarily want to have your heater when you're configuring your boards. I tend to do the initial flash my board with nothing on it. Then we can put things on it and test things out. You have completely blown into Aurora. Awesome. So Mrs. Dragon and all of the stuff from my table is now sitting in Aurora/Denver area. So yeah, I mean, you've got your different types of boards that you can plug in and play around with. And once again, if you happen to follow Chuck Hellebuck, aka Chep, or Chuck Hellebuck Electronics, I think it's Electronic Projects is what Chep stands for. He's actually been doing a series right now that, this BigTreeTech SKR 1.4, at the heart, that's an 8 mil chip. It's a, or actually the 1.4 might actually be, this is an LPC 1769. But, like the Creality boards, they're an Atmega chip, the original 8-bit Creality boards, which is nothing more than a Arduino ramps all in one board versus a stacked board. So you can set those up. You can take these boards and still run them as if they're an Arduino, right? Because you're flashing them basically with an Arduino bottom end. So yeah, lots of different boards and lots of different things that this setup can be used for, to get things, for various projects that you want to tinker and play with, right? Test out your lighting. Make sure that all your lights work before you go and put them in your printer and then find out that the light's no worky because you plugged them in the wrong way, and right? So is she practicing for driving the BattleBot? Not yet. She's got the BattleBots with her. And as soon as we get out there, I've got to put the wheels on and figure out which set of wheels I'm running on it and let her loose. But yeah, she's going to be practicing with that. I think she's going to take the, she's talking about possibly taking the Death Racer off of me as well. But if she does, then, she has to run it. I'm not sure who's going to run the Death Racer, whether it's going to be me or Evil Diesel, or Mrs. Dragon. Somebody's going to run it though at the show. It's been heavily customized over, I'll say, the last 2 weeks. And when I say heavily customized, I mean aesthetically customized. It's still a Mechanim Death Racer. And no, I don't think we are running any of the souped up motors like Zombie was probably running. But, there was somebody that I'm not sure if he's here. Let me see if the name sticks out to me. We do a refresh. There's somebody that just recently followed me on Twitch that had pinged me on YouTube, and I'm not seeing the name, but they were asking specifically about this build, the Mercury 0G, and how well I liked it, because it's been several months since it's been up and running, and I really like this printer. I really need to get. It has become a multi-shelf holding place for parts for other builds because there are a ton of printed parts for Black Box. and I had bags full of parts in this whole bottom area, and the build plate had all of the printed tools that we used, the jigs and stuff for alignment when we were doing the build. So right now, we're going to build the slew NAS, and this is the winder for the slew NAS. So we're going to build that stuff hopefully Thursday. If not, when we get back from Remurf and we're doing our decompress, we'll build this or finish building it, and this will be printing again after Remurf. We will be printing stuff out on it for other projects that are coming out down the road. But yeah, I love it. It's it's a triple lead screw rising gantry, so Trident. It's smaller than the Trident. Doesn't weigh as much. It's easier to get your arms around and move than a 300 Trident. I would say it's semi comparable to probably a 250 Trident in size wise, but it's a standard Ender Pro size bed for this build, and I have a Ender 5 Plus not enclosed downstairs that I use to print all of my single piece helmets off of, which I have several of that I need to finish. So, but yes, I will tell you, Mrs. Dragon was telling me that there was a lot of wind. So if you are driving out in the next couple of days, just be cognizant, check the weather, take your time. Don't try and push it. We want you to get there alive and be there to enjoy the show. But there was a lot of wind on her drive out there, and there's supposed to be at least a little bit of the white stuff on I think Friday night. Yeah, 30-mile-per-hour sustained winds. It wasn't gusting, it was 30-mile-an-hour sustained winds, which it needs to get over that now, because while I am flying out to Rocky Mountain, starting Monday, me and Evil Diesel are driving back. Well, starting Monday late afternoonish, because we got to get up, get the moving van, load the moving van, have lunch, and then start driving out. And we're going to marathon, Chinese fire drill, try and drive all the way home in one shot. But we're going to be, luckily it's a 15-foot U-Haul, so it's not like a 26-footer. Because yeah, I've done that, and those things fully loaded. Whoa. Like if you hit those heavy winds coming through the Midwest, it will put a hurting on your forearms and shoulders trying to keep yourself straight and steady. I feel for people like Edge of 3D who are pulling a trailer for a bunch of people. Oh yeah, they definitely are. Well, folks, it's a little bit after 9. I want to jump off here because I do want to try and do a phone call with Kay Breezy. We need to talk about a few things. And oh no, I'm sure there's going to be a phone call with Mrs. Dragon once I'm done talking with Chris. So let me check and see who we could raid out real fast. I think it's going to be our friend Creatix Brit, or let's see, who we got? Big Jono's up, Astro Canucks up, Juana's up, playing, looks like probably Fallout. Stephen Pool's printing. Way Cool Wood is doing some projects. Declarations is playing Planet Crafter. Brillo's on, and Science is. Let's see him, Brit. Normally on here. But you guys want to jump over and check out Big Jano and see what projects he's trying to feverishly finish up prior to getting out to Rocky Mountain? Oh, thank you, Mr. Wizix, for coming out and hanging out with me in the stream. I mean, I love it that you guys hang out with me. I mean, I'm going to be doing this stuff anyhow. So the fact that you guys come and hang out with me and keep me company, and I get to show you these cool projects and stuff. This is awesome. This is awesome. I need to go ahead and get a couple of pictures of this and post it up on printables and post a makeup there for them. But yeah, if you guys want to, I added the link earlier. Do I still have it? Boom. Yes, I do. There's that link again for the Iconic FAB The Rig test stand, the DIY helper stand for testing electronics and electronic components and other things, right? So please jump on out there. I will take a picture of this, post it up on the socials, and get it up on printables as well. But thank you, folks, for being here with me this evening. Like I said, I'm going to get the rig going over to Big Jano, and looks like he's working on some keychains or lanyard things to add to your lanyards or something with Colorado. So thanks everybody for being out here today. Let's go and show Big Jano some of the love, and I will see you guys on Thursday for those of you that aren't already on the road. So thanks, Darth Gollum. Thanks, Maker Viking, Jedi Spidey,